Thank you. Welcome, everybody. It's a good-looking crowd. Holy cow, you can sit down. Not gonna make you stand the whole time. That would help your metabolism to just be standing the entire time, but I think we'd get some complaints and nobody would ever come back. So before we get started, I wanna tell you a story. Had this professor back at Life University. I just had to confirm his name with Dr. Danielle because we had the same professor. He was a biochemistry professor, and he did things very differently. He taught very, very differently. In fact, he was known for being a lousy preparer of board exams because he taught so differently, but by the time board exams came up and we had to dig back into our biochemistry notes, none of them made any sense and it didn't match up with what we needed to learn. But he was my favorite professor, and he was the most challenging professor too, and everybody else didn't like him, but I liked him because he taught us how to think. And he even said this, day one of class, he said, guys, I could give you the content and the stuff that they want me to teach you so that you can pass your boards, or I can teach you how to think. And if I can teach you how to think, you can take that with you for the rest of your lives and become much better doctors than just memorizing and regurgitating on boards. And I'm so glad that he did. And so today is similar because it's the same type of thing when it comes to your health and metabolism. Is that if you learn the principles of metabolism and you learn the principles and philosophy of health, then you could take that and go and make your decisions and own the decisions. We are all about owning your own choices and owning your own decisions. I don't want to be prescriptive, where I'm the guy that stands up in here and says, okay, this is what we're all gonna do. We're all gonna follow this diet. We're all gonna follow this exercise plan. This is how you do it. This is the prescription, go. No, I'd rather you came away with principles and you can decide how and when and what to go about doing. You have to own your choices. And we're all at different stages of the journey too. Do you agree? All of us are in different stages. So we all have different needs. We all have different goals. Some of us, maybe you don't even want to get healthy, but you're just here because you got dragged here. And it's like, you got a different goal than somebody who's really looking to heal and fix their metabolism and then get healthier than they've ever gotten. It's two totally different situations there. I've been doing this for over a decade. Our doctor team has about over 30 years of experience. And we've been putting on these health seminars, which I think they're the biggest health seminars that go on around here. We haven't seen any other ones that are happening, and we've been doing this for 9 years, putting these things on, and we've seen thousands of patients, and we've seen the long-range process of people who start to take on these lifestyle choices and what it looks like years down the road. We've been able to track that and see that, and the success that they've gotten, and the aliveness that they've been able to experience. And we've seen the other side too, where people neglect their health, or they never really take that big first step and come out of their comfort zone and do the hard things to push through their regular, usual way of thinking, get to the other side of the fence where then they can become healthier. They never do that, or they make small attempts, but when it gets really hard, they quit. And the sad part about that is that you can actually tell what's going to happen to them. So if, let's say they're 50 years old and they're overweight and their metabolism is broken and their energy is off and things just aren't working right, unless they make that actual big jump and start changing their habits and plug into a system that works, it actually doesn't end well. Nobody's coming to rescue you. That person ends up 60 years old, more or less overweight. Which one is it? More or less medications typically. More or less diseases and dysfunctions. More. And then, unfortunately, that person that never chooses to really fix their health and go all in on it, they end up dying an early, preventable death of unmet potential. And so we don't want that for any of you here. So if you're here, you're already here. Like, this is the first step. We're gonna give you action steps. There's a challenge to plug into to get over that hump, to where if you feel stuck or if you feel like you've tried a bunch of stuff, you've listened to a bunch of doctors, you've read a bunch of things, you've watched a bunch of videos, but you haven't really been able to make lasting change, we've got a system that we've seen work for, 9 years now, where it actually creates that new direction, that new path. And we're going to walk you through that towards the end of this. Something I told my team, I said, look, this is not a TED Talk. Like we were adjusting patients at our office this morning. We're a chiropractic wellness clinic that just happens to also do events. So we're not here to impress you. We're not here to make this some big display, a big performance. It's just, I just want to bless you with some solid information and some solid action steps so that you can go forward and get healthier. And it's not me that puts these things on. It's this amazing team who actually put this event on. And can you just give them a hand, first of all? So just to introduce the team here, these ladies, these are not just chiropractic assistants. These are professionals. They're professionals. They're health coaches. Most of them were patients at first and then decided that this had changed their life so much that they want to go and change other people's lives too and teach them these principles of real, true health, living naturally. And also, these are the standard keepers for the Max Living Network. I don't know if you know that, but 3 of them, Cassie, Janelle, and Brittany, are all coaches. They lead other teams around the network of 300 doctors. So you've got these leaders of leaders that are just happen to be within our office here. Debbie up there, she spoke in front of 800 people a month ago on stage at our seminar in Orlando, and she crushed it. She did amazing. So you've got leaders amongst the Max Living teams even on this team right here. And then our doctors. And our doctors are not just chiropractors. So it takes something extra to be a Max Living doctor. It's just different. There's a different approach. Yes, there's different training. In order to wear the Max Living Mountains, you have to be trained there's extra spinal correction training. There's a lot of it. Actually, there's extra nutrition certifications that we have to go through, right? There's detoxification and fitness and muscle and joint certifications that we need to go through as well, and metabolism. So these aren't the run-of-the-mill chiropractors that you see on YouTube or TikTok that are showing off their cracking videos. That's not what this is about. These doctors are passionate about really getting to the root cause of our patients' health issues, finding out what makes you tick, finding out what your goals are, and then helping to resolve what's interfering with your health so that you can get to the other side, so that you can live a fully alive life. It's about empowering patients. And one of our major core values that we teach is called cause over condition. If you're taking notes, this is a good one to keep as one of your core values for your family as well. Cause over condition when it comes to health. Because if we would be bad doctors, really good looking bad doctors, but we'd be bad doctors if we just helped you treat your pain, but then left the underlying root cause alone, which usually if you leave it alone, where does it get better or worse? It gets worse while you're feeling great because of the pain treatments. So some people say, well, this is a little bit different how you guys do things here, right? Because we're aiming for your future. We want your future to look great, not just immediate gratification. While everybody is so tuned into immediate gratification, we are tuned into empowering you so that you can take these principles forward into your long-range, long-term future and make good decisions for your health and your family's health. And that's our mission. It's about empowerment. So it's to empower and equip people to unlock their full health potential to live an alive life. That's why we exist. So what does alive life mean for you? And this is where you start to think about what is your big why. Why do you want to get healthy? Why are you even here? Why are you here? It's Saturday. There's a lot of stuff you could be doing. I mean, and don't just say, well, she dragged me here, or he. Don't say that. Well, you can. Or he told me I had to be here, right? It's never usually that way, but sometimes, right? He told me I needed to be here. But why do women take care of their health and men just ignore it? Because we're like tough guys, right? Well, the tough guy thing. So let's say you're the tough guy, or let's say you just got dragged here. That's fine. Now you're here, and this is 3 hours long. So we lock the doors so you can't leave. So now that you're actually here, what is your big why for getting healthy? Because you do want I would assume you do actually want to get healthy. So let me guide you here. So who here does want to get healthy? Raise your hand. Who here might want to, or get off of medications, or raise your energy levels, or lose a lot of weight, or some weight, right? Or maybe more mental clarity, or better mood, or better sleep, right? So if you don't have a why, that's fine, but let me guide you. How old are you? What do you want your future to look like 10, 20, 30 years from now? Who's most important to you to keep healthy for? Who are you most important to? Who would it be worth to keep yourself healthy? Who would be worth it, I should say? And what dreams do you have for your life that would be lost if you lost your health? There was a season where I lost my health, and nothing else mattered anymore. All the dreams were gone. They were gone. I'm not going to get into details, but I didn't think I'd do this anymore. I didn't think I'd be a chiropractor anymore. Nothing else mattered except getting healthy. And when you lose your health, you'll do whatever it takes to regain it, just so you can serve those other top priorities in your life. But when you don't have your health, it's like you've lost all those other things. So even the threat of losing your health, bam, clicks you right in there, and you start to think, man, I'll just do anything. Even if you're waiting for the imaging results to come in or the blood test results, and you're waiting for that oncologist appointment or whatever appointment it is, and they're about to tell you yes for the diagnosis or negative, no, you don't have the diagnosis. Even in that waiting period, what happens in your heart and soul? Everything aligns. Everything aligns, and you start to see what's important. You start to see what's not important. You start to see all those BS stresses that you go through at work are not important. You start to think, on my deathbed, looking back on my life, what is actually going to be the thing that I am glad that I spent time doing, and what are the things that I'm actually going to regret doing? Like, I'm not going to regret that we went up north with our kids last weekend. Could I have been preparing this a little bit more so I'm a little less stressed these last couple days? Sure, but I'm not going to regret that on my deathbed, that I spent time with my kids up north last weekend. Do you see what I mean? And so, and it gets in alignment when you lose your health or when there's a threat of losing your health. So now looking at, it's not just about weight loss or fitness. Your goals are, it's about what your future is that you want it to look like. And metabolism is a big part of that, which is why it's the topic of today. Now, 2 different health philosophies, a couple big words, but I think you can handle them, so I left them in. The stronger your health philosophy, the easier it is to make decisions for you and your family, because then it's obvious. Just like the stronger the why that you have for your health, the easier it is to go through the how. The how is like changing your foods, changing your exercise, changing your morning routines. That how can be really difficult, but if you have a big enough why, it gets easier and easier and easier. The bigger the why, the easier the how. Same thing here. The bigger, the stronger the philosophy, the easier the decision making. 2 different philosophies. One is salutogenesis, the other is pathogenesis. Has anyone even ever heard of those words before? Yes, of course, my team has. So I love it though. Thank you for participating. Pathogenesis, let's interchange this with medical. Can we just dive right in right now? Let's interchange this with medical. Avoiding disease is the idea. That's the goal. Treating the symptoms of disease, labeling diseases as diagnoses, fearing the disease, fearing the germ, fearing the pathology. That's pathogenesis. It's all about keeping away from diseases and germs. Salutogenesis, totally flipped on its end. You can interchange this with vitality. Salutogenesis is vitality. This is about building health. This is getting yourself so healthy and so strong that disease can't catch up with your body. Disease can't live in a healthy body. So instead of focusing on disease and avoiding disease and preventing disease, you're just building health. You're actually doing things, right? You're doing things for your health. And growing up in the medical model, I didn't even know that was possible. I thought all you could do was just avoid disease and prevent germs from getting in. But doing things that actually increase your health and take to the next level so that you're taking control of your health with lifestyle. And so again, medical and vitalistic is what these 2 are. It's pathogenesis is medical versus vitalistic, which is salutogenesis. And really the unique intention when it comes to chiropractic within vitality, within salutogenesis. Chiropractic is that we're just looking to remove the interference. So the goal is not to put any more health in you, it's remove what's interfering so that God's design of perfect health can express the way that it's supposed to. See, you have all the health in you that you're ever gonna have. Nobody can add anything to that. There's no foods or exercise or supplements that can actually add more health into you. Everything we do, from the 5 essentials to the adjustments and everything, is to remove the interference, give yourself the essentials to allow your body to just do what it's meant to do. When your body works like it's supposed to, you feel good and you're healthy. So it's about function, not just feeling. How many cells does a human body have? Anybody know? Lots. Good answer. You're right. Nailed it. 75 trillion cells for any average adult. For you, it's probably like 150 trillion. He's tall. He's just tall. I'm not making fun of a big guy. So that would have been a funny joke, though. Yeah, so 75 trillion cells. If you get all 75 trillion cells working great, if all 75 trillion cells are healthy, then what are you? You're healthy. So we're going to talk about this on a cellular level. If you have questions, text us. We're going to be answering them kind of throughout. We're going to get to these more in the second half, but write this down if you're the type to have questions. If you're not the type to have questions, write this down, because I think you're going to have questions, and then you're going to want to text us, or you can just text us complaints about how this was not educational for you, and that's fine too. But shoot us a text, 269-252-4015. Why is it a 269 number? I don't know. It's a Google Voice number. We couldn't get a 616 number, so we got a Kalamazoo number. All right, metabolism affects everything. It's not just your weight, but weight is a big one. Energy is huge. It actually is about energy. That's what metabolism is. It's how your body converts food and fat to energy. Your self-esteem, because of all those things. Your activities, recreation, your ability to do things. Your mood, your ability to concentrate, how deep you sleep, your sex drive, it's all affected by metabolism. And it's more than just not looking great in a bathing suit as to what happens to you when your metabolism breaks. And so when you have a broken metabolism, what can happen are high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, plenty of science linking metabolism issues to heart disease and heart attacks. You've got obviously obesity and diabetes, everybody knows that, but then autoimmune disorders, metabolic in nature, thyroid dysfunction, not just thyroid causing metabolic problems, but chicken or the egg, right? You've got metabolic problems causing thyroid issues. Infertility, there's a big metabolic component there. Cushing's disease, which has to do with the adrenals. Cancer now is known as a metabolic disease at its cause, most cancers. Fatty liver disease, arthritis, chronic pain, PCOS. If any of these look familiar to you or you want to prevent them, you're in the right place today, because we are going to show you how to reverse this slow metabolism issue. And maybe you've heard before, or you think, I just have a slow metabolism. That's just how I'm built. I'm not built like her. I'm built like this. And so it's just slow. There's no such thing as a slow metabolism. Can everybody say that? Say the whole sentence. There's no such thing as a slow metabolism. You want to change that word metabolism to convert. Convert, because it's your ability to convert food and fat into energy. If you are not converting your fat and your food into energy, where does it go? Where does the fat go if you're not using it for energy? You ever heard of like burning fat? Like, oh, I'm burning fat or I'm not burning. What does burning fat mean? You're converting your body fat to your energy. So if you're not able to, if your metabolism is broken and your body has forgotten or it doesn't have the signaling to convert fat to energy, where does the fat go? Nowhere. My kids like to say, you ain't going nowhere. I don't know where they got that from. Some movie. What movie is it? So, nobody answered. I'm looking at you. I'm like, please help me. Yeah, you ain't going nowhere. That's what they say. And I'm saying it twice because you want to remember, because if your metabolism broken, your fat isn't going nowhere. It's staying on you because you can't use it. You can't extract it and convert it to energy. That's what a bad metabolism is. And so if the fat stays and then you add more fat, and that fat stays and then you add more fat, you're going to end up with what? Obesity. That is why obesity happens. Now, you look back, 1953. Can you find anybody who's obese in that picture? Can't find anybody who's obese. How about this one? This is 1960s in Tennessee. Can you find an obese person would stick out like a sore thumb? Right there. And then let's go all the way to the 70s. Nothing has changed yet, right? Until, here's another picture in the 70s. So it was 13% obese back then. It was actually below 10% most of the time. And then what happened? Somewhere in the early to mid 80s, it jumped and it's increased ever since. Now it is at a staggering 41.9% obese. So is that genetic? Obviously not, because it's something that we're doing that's creating this massive increase. So what is going on? Like, what are we doing? And instead of considering what caused this, because something caused this, does everybody agree? Does anybody disagree that it's what we are doing that's creating this problem? Okay, so instead of considering what is causing this, what is making everybody so obese, what do the experts recommend? Well, drugs and surgery. And that's for kids now. This just came out a couple weeks ago. They said, if kids are obese, let's just get them started on drugs and surgery even earlier. And the earlier we can start, the better we can prevent obesity from becoming a... Never, not even anywhere in this article. I read the article. I thought I was reading something from the friggin' Twilight Zone, because it's like they don't even consider that these kids' obesity issues are caused by something. So they're saying, they've been stricken with obesity, so let's just give them more pills and more surgeries. And the new guidance is use drugs and surgery early on for obese kids, weekly injections. And they say this is not a lifestyle problem. But do you remember ever, were there any obese kids when you were in school? I mean, it didn't. I remember, there was this one kid that was, really big, and he dominated on the football field at recess, because you give him the ball, and nobody could tackle him, because he was so big. But that was it, though. It was one kid, and everybody else was normal sized. Now, you look at our kids' classrooms, and it's like, oh, kids are starting this obesity thing a lot earlier. We're going to talk about why. So metabolic dysfunction in kids, it causes diabetes, hypertension even. Depression is at an all-time high. Part of that is the metabolic issues. Part of that might be not going to school for 2 years also. Different story we're not going to get into today. But sleep apnea, PCOS, declined academic performance. Why? Because this is all connected. And it's even more important to start them off right. So the first concept when it comes to metabolism that you need to get is one of the most important ones. This is the concept that determines whether you have a slow metabolism or a fast metabolism. It's called basal metabolic rate. Everybody say, basal metabolic rate. This is huge. This is your idle burning speed, meaning how your metabolism, let me backtrack, means all the chemical reactions that are happening in your body, which all need energy. So all these reactions in your body require energy to happen. Even when you're sitting right there, are you using energy? Yes. Are you using calories? Yes. Now here's the thing. Some of you are utilizing energy and calories more efficiently than others. The ones with a high basal metabolic rate, also known as a baseline metabolic rate. So when you're at rest, you are burning more calories just to do your normal processes. Your liver is detoxifying things, requires energy. You're using calories. You're digesting food. You're producing hormones. Your kidneys are working and filtering your blood. All of this requires energy, and the ones with the super fast metabolism have a high BMR. And they're crushing it, and they're using their fat energy. They're using their fat on their bodies for that energy. And the people with a slow metabolism can't convert, so their BMR is lower. So a slow metabolism is a really low BMR. I've got a friend who tracks this, and he's in really good shape, burns a lot of calories at rest because he's lifestyled his way into a great metabolism. He can eat whatever he wants because he's created that ability to burn. And we're going to get into how to get your body in a state where you can eat anything for energy, because there is a way to do this. And there's a way to calculate BMR, which we're going to post onto the private Facebook group. Okay, you should have information on the private Facebook group. It's called Rivertown Family Chiropractic Motivation Group. We're gonna post some of these kind of heady things on there so that this here doesn't get too boring. Don't want you guys to fall asleep, so we'll post the boring stuff online, because it has to do with size and body composition and age and all. You gotta like plug it into this calculator. That would be not fun material to go through right now. So what does affect metabolism? Well, your age does affect metabolism. It changes as you age. What can kids eat and get away with it? They can eat anything they want. And their metabolisms are just so fast and so efficient that they can eat anything and burn it up and use it for fuel. Because their BMR is so much higher than ours. And then after a full day of activity and running around and being at school, then what do they do at 8:30 at night around bedtime? They're bouncing off the walls. They're crazy. They're still ready to play. They're still ready to run around. It's like, and we're just like dragging and, oh my goodness, like when is the day gonna end? And they're just ready to play as hard as ever because their BMRs are so high. Genetics do play some role. Some people just might have to work a little bit harder, but it's not a huge role. So you can't blame your genetics. But genetically, yeah, are there really thin people genetically? Well, yeah. I mean, you see that. There's different body types and everything. But obese is not genetic. Like if you're a shorter player in the NBA basketball, you might have to work a little bit harder than the guy who's 6'10". Like that's kind of what we're talking about here, is you might just have to work harder. Diet, exercise, lifestyle, that's what we're gonna get into. When it comes to what body composition to aim for, should you have more muscle or less muscle? You want more muscle. Why is that? Why does muscle give you a faster metabolism? You've heard that before, right? Oh, well, if I build more muscle, then somehow it makes my metabolism go faster. So fat, what does fat do for you? Okay, so it insulates your organs and it cushions your organs, the visceral fat. What does body fat on the outside do for you? Yeah, it stores toxins is one thing, which is a negative thing. What is a positive thing that it does for you? Nothing. It just sits there. It doesn't need much to sustain itself, so it just sits there. Now, brains use fat, cholesterol uses fat, but your muscle, the muscle that's in your body, needs a lot of calories to do its job. So what does that mean? Muscles will use more energy than fat will. So that person with the super high BMR, they usually have more muscle density, and the muscles are actually using up their fat energy just to stay muscular. So when you put on muscle, your BMR goes up. And the more muscle you have, the higher your BMR is going to be, speeding up your metabolism. So fat loss, the max living way, there's a wrong way and a right way, I believe. So you can starve yourself skinny where you just don't eat anything for a long, that doesn't necessarily make you healthier. You can take a bunch of pills and potions and lotions and whatever they are telling you in the medical world, that doesn't typically make you healthier. You can cut it all out, or you can suck it all out, or whatever it is that they do with that. That's not gonna make you healthier. You can put the wrap things around you. Is that gonna make you healthy? No, it's not gonna make you healthier. So you can kind of like sweat yourself to death. None of those things are good long-term solutions. And so if it's not a good long-term solution, you're gonna be right back where you started, and typically in a worse situation because your body's adapted to that instant starving type of situation. And who wants to live like that is what it comes down to. I mean, you're here because you don't want to live like that. You're here because you want to change your lifestyle and become somebody who's healthier and become a better version of yourself. So there's better ways to do that. And that's where you get into the 5 essentials. And this is where, we're going to have a challenge that is going to match up with these essentials for you. We're going to go over it at the end. What affects your metabolism? All these areas of health affect your metabolism. So we're gonna go through each one, give concepts and action steps. At the end of the day, also, we're gonna give some random tips. I've never had a place to put just random tips, just hacks that I've learned from researching. I've read 3 full books preparing for this seminar here. I always commit to reading 2 full new books. I read 3 this time that were phenomenal, and I've got just a bunch of new researched hacks to go over. We're gonna go over them in the second half with the 30-day challenge. But nutrition, stress, toxins, moving your body, spinal alignment, it all plays into it. All right, ready for nutrition? Who's ready for nutrition? When we think metabolism destroyers, the things that really mess up your metabolism, what do you think of? Sugar, right? Sugar and processed foods, that's what I heard. So when you get to sugar, there's sugar like sweets, and then there's the other types of carbs, like you have your starchy carbs and your breads and pastas and things like that. The sugary foods are the ones that you're gonna get the quickest energy from. So when your body is scanning for fuel sources, it's going to first grab the sugar because the sugar is the most readily available. It's that quick energy. It's a short burst of energy. It's different than fat energy. So carbs, quick and short energy. What effect do carbs have on blood sugar? The highest effect. You eat carbs and sugar, it is going to increase your blood sugar quickly and very high. It affects your blood sugar a lot. And so because your blood sugar goes up, what hormone do you have to produce more of? Insulin. So you end up producing more insulin to deal with your blood sugar. And have you ever heard of a sugar crash? Have you ever felt a sugar crash? So when you're in a carb-adapted place, this is another term we're going to be talking about today, carb-adapted versus fat-adapted. When you're a carb-adapted place, you're using sugar for energy, and then you're replenishing your body with sugar when you crash. Because your insulin is up, then your blood sugar starts to come down, now your insulin's really high, it triggers all these signaling pathways to tell your brain, we need more fuel, so eat more sugar. And so then you go and you're like, man, I really crave a donut. I really crave a sandwich. I really crave a bagel or whatever the thing is. Or I need to put honey. I need to put more honey in my tea. I don't know why. I just really want it. Yeah, because your insulin has gone up. You crashed, and now you're ready for the next fuel because you're carb adapted. So you think of carbs like kindling on a fire, right? You need to put more and more on it if you're just using little twigs over and over and over. So you need to eat more often. Fats, longer lasting energy. What do fats do to your insulin? To your blood sugars? Nothing, like hardly anything. Very, very minimal. Carbs, way up here. Proteins are kind of down here. Fats, almost flatlined. Hardly does anything to your blood sugars, which means it hardly spikes your insulin at all. It actually does not spike your insulin. Let's just put it that way. It's a negligible effect on your insulin. So you're gonna have longer lasting energy because you're not gonna get the big swings up and down with the sugar crashes. So you think of this like putting a really big log on the fire and you're letting it just heat up and get hot and it's just producing heat for a long, long time as opposed to the kindling. So it's just 2 different ways to go about your fuel. So the concept here of metabolic flexibility means you can use carbs or fat or protein for your energy. How do you get to be metabolically flexible? So everybody say flexibility. What does flexibility mean? It means you can move, it means you can adapt, it means you can change things up and still be okay. People who are carb adapted, if they flip and say, I'm gonna get my energy from fats from now on, what's gonna happen to them if they're fully carb adapted? They're gonna get really ticked off. And they're gonna be really unhappy and they're not gonna feel good at all because they still need their sugar. So this is where you can use any fuel, whatever source is available, and you're not this one-trick pony when it comes to your metabolism. So the benefits of metabolic flexibility, and this is a concept that they've been writing about and researching about a whole lot within the last couple years. So I've been reading about this a lot, and it really, when you're metabolically flexible, you have like limitless energy really, because you can use anything for energy. You can use the fat on your body, you can use carbs, you can use proteins, and you don't crash and crave. You're gonna have consistent leveled energy. So ketosis is super high fat diet, hardly any carbs, and it kind of throws you into this survival mode. Ketosis isn't meant for long-term living. It's actually meant for survival. And so I don't see that as a long-term way to live. But when you gain metabolic flexibility through ketosis, it helps you out. So we use a ketogenic diet. We don't live on a ketogenic diet. Now you can say, well, that's just your opinion, Dr. Mark. Yep, it is. But like I said, I've been studying this for a while. I'm getting, through the philosophy of expressing God's design of your body and the health that you already have within you. I don't see ketosis or survival mode as a long-term way to live, where you're always in a ketogenic state, where you're producing ketones from your liver for energy. That's survival mode when there's no food around and you are going to die if you don't make ketones from your fat. But using seasons of ketogenic diet and ketosis to create metabolic flexibility so that you can retrain your brain and your body to use fat for energy. So we're gonna go over the diets and the food things that you should do in order to create this retraining effect of your metabolism through ketosis. So use keto, don't necessarily live on keto. And I'd rather be metabolically flexible than be on a strict keto diet for the rest of my life. Now, if you're always relying on carbs, if you're always taking the red handle over and over and over again, you are very inflexible because there's only one energy source that your body is trained to use. Most people are like this. And they keep screwing up the blue handle because they'll just add the blue handle. They'll say, oh, I get it. So if I eat fat, it trains my body to burn fat. So I'm just gonna add a bunch of fat to my diet. What are they actually doing? They're just adding a ton of calories because they're still taking the red handle over and over and over because they're so carb adapted that they're screwing up the ketogenic part of this. They're screwing up the fat adaptation. In order to start adding fats to your diet so that you can create fat adaptation, you actually have to cut the carbs down for that season. You don't just add fats or it's not going to work. And then do they lose weight or gain weight if they do it that way? They're gonna gain weight and they're gonna say, hey, Dr. Mark, your stupid fat adapted thing didn't work for me. It's like, oh, well, what's your breakfast? Oh, I still eat my cereal and bagels and donuts and sugar in my coffee and everything. Okay, well then you're never gonna become fat adapted. Why? Because your body reaches for what source first? Sugar. If there's any sugar available, that's what you're gonna use as energy. So it's sugar and then other carbs and then fats. So if we wanna get down here and access and extract our fat sources for energy, what do we have to pretty much get rid of for a season? The sugar and the other carbs. You have to really bring those down super low so that you have to reach for your fat stores to get there. You're not living down here for the rest of your life. You're retraining your metabolism so that you can become metabolically flexible and use anything for energy. That carb adapted person, they keep accumulating fat in their body because they're consistently feeding themselves carbs over and over and over. They get incrementally fatter. And if you skip a meal or 2 meals, the wheels completely fall off. You should be able to skip a meal or 2 and not feel terrible. If you feel terrible from skipping a meal, that's a bad situation for your metabolism. You know what I love? When my metabolism, because it does shift and change based on my lifestyle, when my metabolism is really dialed in, if I'm ever traveling, are there any good options at airports? No, it's terrible. So I could either eat airport food, which has a bunch of seed oils and a bunch of crap and a bunch of processed stuff, and it probably tastes really good, and I could use it as an excuse to eat Chick-fil-A. But if I did that, it would screw me up. So I love when I'm able to travel, I'm able to just fast. I mean, I'll say, I'm just not gonna eat for the next 6 hours. I'm fine with that. And when I'm metabolically flexible and fat adapted, that is no problem whatsoever. And I like not being a slave to food also. When you become fat adapted, you're no longer a slave to food. You're no longer a slave to cravings. You no longer have to fight against the instant gratification pull that a carb-adapted broken metabolism forces your brain into. And then if you don't eat those carbs, you're miserable. That's jail to me. Having a broken metabolism, it's like you're in jail and you are at the mercy of sugars. And I don't like that feeling. So even just getting out of that feeling is worth it for me to fix metabolism. So here's some signs that you are metabolically inflexible, also known as carb adapted. So if you're carb adapted, like I said, you're going to feel like you need to snack often. You're going to love snacks. Ooh, I need that. Ooh, I need that. Oh, this snack would be great right now. And you justify it, but it's, why do you need that snack so badly? You often get hangry. Anybody here ever get hangry? Does anybody's spouse ever get hangry? Anyone look at each other there? It's funny. I see a lot of like, no, I don't get hangry at all. And the spouse is like looking this way. Like, what do you mean you don't get hangry? You're hangry this morning. You're going to crave sugar and carbs really bad. You're going to struggle with belly fat because belly fat gets put on in these situations when you're carb adapted. It has to do with cortisol. You're rarely going to feel full or satisfied after a meal. If you're carb adapted, you can eat a lot. Like you could get a second burrito at Chipotle and just house that thing. I mean, and why is that? Because you're so driven towards more and more sugar that it actually will shut down your hunger hormones and your satiating hormones. Rarely feel full. Afternoon slump. If you need coffee at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, chances are you're carb adapted and metabolically inflexible. Poor sleep, brain fog, mood issues. A lot of people don't know they have any of those three. Poor sleep, they're like, what are you talking about? I sleep fine. But they're not getting that deep, restful, restorative sleep. Brain fog, you don't know you have brain fog until your brain fog lifts. There's just no way of knowing, really. And a lot of times, because chiropractic adjustments can release that brain fog because it helps the flow of cerebral spinal fluid to your brain, and people come off the table at their first couple adjustments and they're like, oh, this is how my brain is supposed to feel. It's like, yeah, you've been jammed up and foggy for a long time. And then mood issues, again, ask your spouse about that one. They'll let you know. Signs that you're metabolically flexible. So if you have really solid metabolic balance and you are fat adapted, you're gonna have less hunger between meals. You're not gonna have cravings for carbs. You are gonna have consistent energy. You're actually gonna have more energy too. Why are you gonna have more energy? Because fat calories give you more energy than sugar calories, a lot more. And like a gram of fat gives you almost 4 times the energy as a gram of sugar does. So you're not just gonna have consistent clean energy without the crash, you're gonna have more energy. So with the calories that you're eating, you're actually getting more energy from them. But the only way you can utilize that energy is if you go through the process of becoming fat adapted. Otherwise, you're not gonna feel it. You're gonna say, this thing doesn't work. I've been doing this for 3 days and it doesn't work. Right, because to turn your metabolism over and go from carb adapted to fat adapted takes about 1 to 3 months. Not days, not weeks. Fixing a broken metabolism takes time. Why? Because all processes that are worthwhile take time, period. And so if it took you years and years to get that way, and it is so wired within your nervous system, within your hormones to crave carbs, it's going to take some time to get out of it. 1 to 3 months, and that's if you know what you're doing. That's if you have a system to plug into, and a lot of times support around you and a community around you to do it. That's why we see people succeed doing this when they have not succeeded for years trying to do it on their own, because they didn't have the support in the system and that initial boost. Like, I'm not a huge fan of challenges, I'll be honest. You're like, you just told us we're gonna do a challenge. Yeah, I know. I'm not a huge fan of the challenges that it's like, oh, I just live on challenges. I do this challenge, then I do 75 hard, and then I do 60 difficult, and then I do 50 impossible, or whatever the different challenges are, right? And those are great, but you can't live on challenges. You want to be creating lifelong habits. You know what the challenge is? The rest of your life. The rest of your life, because you're either deciding to live for something that's more important than the now, or you're deciding to live for the right now. And so if your big why is strong enough for living for something bigger than the right now, we like to say my commitments are stronger than my feelings in this moment. That is a mantra we say at every workshop all the time, and if we can just all grasp that, my commitments are stronger than my feelings in this moment. And if that's what you can take with you, then you can end up creating this fat-adapted metabolic flexibility and actually hit your goals. If not, you're going to keep dropping back. Enhance mental activity. You're going to be more focused with better concentration, more creative, more cognitive function. Your mood gets better. I don't want to say on keto, right? But you use keto to get there. You guys tracking with me on the keto thing? You use ketosis to get to metabolic flexibility and fat adaptation. And then you can do both. And then you can still eat carbs. You're not going to give up carbs for the rest of your life. That's not the idea. And then more endurance when you're exercising, because every gram of fat that you're deriving from your body or from foods is going to give you more energy. Here's that blood sugar spike. Carbs, bam, big spike in your blood sugars. Proteins, moderate spike. Fat, hardly anything at all. Healthy fats have minimal to no impact on blood sugar. Protein. Protein is probably even more important to eat when you're doing this, because protein is the building blocks of all your cells and tissues. It has all the amino acids. It tells your body, it informs whether the body's going to absorb enough essential nutrients, because proteins are so important to digestion, absorption, and transportation of all these nutrients. So it reduces hunger when you eat protein. So you eat less. It's more filling. It helps to slow down the release of sugar in your blood. So actually will slow down the blood sugar spike. It burns more calories upon consumption. What does that mean? It has something called a high thermic effect, meaning when you eat protein, you use the calories from protein to burn the calories that are in the protein that you just ate. Tongue twister. What is that? So like when thermic effect of protein is like 25%. So when you're eating protein, if you eat a steak, 25% of that steak is burned up by the process of digesting the protein. It's not that way with sugar or even with fat. So protein has that high thermic effect. So it actually will speed up your metabolism to be focused on protein. It also supports muscle growth. Muscles, better or faster or slower metabolism when you have muscle. So we want to be focused on building muscle. And so protein is going to help us build muscle. Not talking about getting huge and jacked and doing fitness competitions and, lifting super heavy. I'm talking about building lean, solid muscle in your body that will speed up your metabolism. Protein helps that process. Again, we're going to have how much protein should I eat? How much should I eat? It's about, 1.2 to 1.8 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. So again, boring calculation. We're going to have an easier way to do that if you get on the motivation group. The 30-day challenge has that included into it. Best sources of protein. Quality animal protein, so meat and eggs and bone broth even, nuts and seeds. Nutritional yeast actually has protein in it. Clean protein powders, so clean grass-fed whey protein, clean bone broth protein. These are your best sources when it comes to outside of eating actual food. I use protein powders to ensure that I'm getting my protein grams up throughout the day, because you want to be protein forward. You want to be filling up first on protein. That's the cue for me. Fill up first on protein, because that is going to generate your metabolic direction of the day. Quality dairy if you can tolerate it. So clean protein powder, this is where you get the whey protein, and then the Pure Path bone broth protein boosts your metabolism. This has that thermogenic effect. These are the ones that I use. I prefer the Pure Path. That's the bone broth protein. I think it tastes good. Thermogenic effect, it improves your recovery and repair because it has all the amino acids. So you're not lacking any of the amino acids. This comes from grass-fed cows. So when we talk about clean, it is clean. There are no toxins in it. There are no fillers in it. Very hard to find proteins that are this clean. It's not sweetened with sugar. So you're not going to get a big insulin spike from taking it. It doesn't hurt your digestion. It actually, there's even collagen in it, so it helps your joints and your skin and your overall detoxification. Like I said, it's grass-fed. It has what's called high bioavailability, which means even though it's in a powder, it's clean. So when you take it in, your body actually recognizes those amino acids as if they're coming from food, whereas there's a lot of cheap protein powders where your body doesn't even see it as food, so it doesn't react well to it, and you could have digestive issues. You don't really absorb the amino acids all that well. I've been using this for years. You know what I like to use this with is our kids. It's because sometimes it's hard to get my kids to eat steak and chicken and eggs. And sometimes my kids, for whatever reason, they get together and they boycott. And they say, we don't like chicken anymore. I'm like, why? Well, we decided we don't eat chicken anymore. It's like, it'll come back within like another couple weeks. But does anybody else have kids that boycott food? They just boycott. They decide that they don't like it, and then their sibling decides, I don't like it either. And it's like, you just ate this. You loved it like a month ago. So anyways, to get around that, we'll do this. We'll put it in their smoothies. I know they've put the Pure Path protein in the smoothies back there. You can put it in yogurt too. We do something called super yogurt. So it's the grass-fed whole Greek yogurt or whole milk yogurt. We get one from Costco. That one's really good. And then we throw in just a scoop of protein in there, mix it all together. It tastes really good. Some frozen berries in there, and we'll do the max greens in there for their vegetable intake. Because again, it helps a little bit if you can supplement. It helps a little bit. We want them to learn how to eat vegetables. We're not saying we're not going to teach them to eat vegetables, but I want them to get the nutrient density. And so putting protein and greens into their smoothies and yogurt, and they don't taste it, it just tastes good, and they like it and they ask for it, is a big, big plus. So I love the bone broth protein, it's called Pure Path protein, and the whey protein is there too. Which, by the way, you guys have an order form. And if you guys want any of these things, or if you're looking at these and you say, oh, I like that, or I like that, you can just check it off on the box there. We've got limited supply today of some of these products. Everything's on sale today, so if you need to stock up, you can stock up. But we have limited supply with only a few of the products back there. I know we stacked more protein. Healthy fats. When we eat fat, we're giving ourselves clean fuel. It doesn't spike your insulin levels when you eat fat, like we talked about. Very little to your blood sugars. It actually helps you make hormones. So fat doesn't make you fat. Eating fat does not make you fat. Can everybody say that? Eating fat does not make you fat. Regardless of what they taught you back in, the late 80s, I think, was the campaign where they showed like a blood vessel, and they said, here's the fat that you're eating. It ends up in your blood vessel. That's not where it ends up. That's been proven false for decades now. They've known this for a long, long time, that eating fat does not make you fat. It actually is a building block for your metabolic hormones. And if you don't eat fat, you're training your body to use what for energy? Just the sugar that you're eating. And you become way more carb and sugar adapted. By the way, remember everyone was skating in the 50s and 60s and even in the 70s. In the 80s, something happened. What was the campaign in the mid-80s that eventually made everybody look to obesity rates climbing? The low-fat campaign. Eat low-fat. Do skim milk. Do low-fat yogurt. Stay away from fats and meats. Stay away from fat everywhere. The fat is killing you. The fat's causing heart disease. The fat is making you fat. And then America became the most obese country in the world by far because of this low-fat campaign. And when you eat low-fat foods, When it doesn't have all the God-given high-fat components in it, what do they have to put in it? Sugar and chemicals in order for it to taste palatable. So now you have sugar and chemicals and man-made fats. Because God-made fats are good for you, man-made fats are junk. And we're going to get to that. Here's the thing, you can't become fat adapted without consuming enough fat. Because you have to train your body to use fat for energy. We're not just using the fat that's on our bodies. We are wanting to use fat for energy on a regular basis so that you can eat fat and have that big log on the fire that lasts the rest of the day nice and clean. Eating fat boosts metabolism. So the study here, what it showed is that those who ate more fat calories burned more than 100 additional calories per day by eating more fat calories. So what are the different types of fats? There's good fats and there's bad fats. From everything I've read, especially the newest research studies and all 3 of the new books that I read, nothing harms your metabolism more than inflammatory fats. So while we're talking about eat fat, eat fat, eat fat, the caveat, not all fats, because not all fats are created equal. So we're gonna show you the divide. We're gonna give you the principles so you can make your own decisions. If all you got from this workshop, and the only action step you took was to remove the inflammatory fats, you're gonna get results. And anyone I've talked to who has made big changes in their metabolism and lost tons and tons of weight, this had to go from their diet or else you can't break through. Inflammatory fats, I'll just say this, and if this changes, I'll change it down the road, but this is where I'm at right now. I'm ready to say from stage, inflammatory fats are worse than sugar. So that is how damaging it is to your metabolism. Not that you should go eat sugar, but in terms of what it does to your metabolism, you can still get away with having some sugar. The inflammatory oils and the inflammatory fats really mess you up. The fake stuff, the boxed foods, the processed foods, the fried foods especially. So it jams up your system. So you get tired, you get joint pain, you get irritable, and your metabolism stops from inflammatory oils and fats. But you say, not me, I feel great after I eat them. In fact, we went out for a fried fish dinner and all this, and I ate fries and beer battered this and this and this. I felt awesome. In fact, it was an awesome night. Right, what did the next morning feel like? What did the next 3 days feel like? How long do those trans fats, those man-made synthetic fats that they're using, stay in your body? Well, and I put this is Dr. James DiNicolantonio, wrote the book Win, which I studied to prepare for this. He's phenomenal. He's doing the very leading edge research on metabolism. And I put a picture of his Twitter post to get your attention because everyone's addicted to their phones. So if I put a picture of Twitter up there, then everyone will pay attention. So he says, once consumed, omega-6 has a half-life of approximately 680 days. Omega-6s are those inflammatory oils, the canola oil, vegetable oil, soybean, sunflower, palm oil, corn oil. Those are your omega-6s. Omega-6 fats get incorporated into tissues, including the heart and the brain, and can stay there for how long? Years. So maybe it'll take a couple months before you can start seeing big changes in your metabolic health. Who wants a highly oxidizable oil saturated in their organs? Stop consuming these seed oils. Again, the book is called Win. It's very heady. There's a lot of numbers. It's a lot of math. It's not the most palatable book, but it has really good research in it. And here are your inflammatory oils. Canola oil. I mean, these are man-made oils. And you might think of canola oil as like vegetable oil. Oh, it's good for you. It's actually an acronym. It stands for Canadian Oil Low Acid. It's completely synthetic, completely man-made, and it causes massive inflammation in your body. And these are going to be in all of those processed foods, peanut butter, frozen foods, breads even. Chips have these oils in them. French fries obviously are fried in these oils. Salad dressings. So here you are, you're like, oh, I'm going to go out to this restaurant and I'm going to eat this salad and I'm going to do something good for my body. And then you load up on the dressing, and the dressing is made with one of these oils. What have you done to your metabolism by eating that salad? You just stopped your metabolism again. So that's how sneaky these oils can be. Anything in a box. What was the one that I was looking at? Veggie straws. I'm sorry. It says veggie on it, so you think, oh, this is so healthy for my kids. Look at the ingredients. There's really not much vegetable in it. They're basically chips that are colored green and orange and yellow, and they're made with inflammatory oils. And so your kids chomping on these veggie straws like my kids did until I looked at the bag. And I'm like, this is full-blown inflammation to the brain and organs and tissues, creating metabolic dysfunction. And the problem with the oils is that the oils get into your body, and then they actually shut off so there's a pathway neurologically where the inflammatory oils shut off your ability to know when you're hungry or not. So when you eat inflammatory oils, any of these oils, you then tend to do what? Overeat. So now you have this overeating problem that you don't need to have. It's a weird situation. You don't think you need more food, but your brain is kind of shutting down. MSG is one of those things too. You eat Chinese food or MSG is in so many things. If you look at monosodium glutamate, but it's named a bunch of other things now, and that actually shuts down your hunger hormones, your satiety hormones. So then you don't know when to stop eating, and you keep eating. All of a sudden, boom, you're hugely bloated because you ate 150% more than what you should have. What about fast food? Of course, fast food is absolutely loaded in these. We have a meal from McDonald's that we bought. When did we buy that, Brittany? It was like 9 years ago. We bought a Happy Meal from McDonald's, and we have it in this little encasement. It looks exactly the same as the day we bought it because it's made of chemicals. It's made of chemicals and synthetic oils. There's no nutrients. And if there was nutrients in it, what would have eaten it by now? Bugs and mold and who knows what. I mean, it doesn't even smell. It's plastic. And that's what we're putting into our bodies. And does it taste good? Yes. I used to be a McDonald's addict way back in the day. In college, I ate double quarter pounder with cheese meal every single day if I could find it. And it was like, actually, I got into Wendy's quite a bit. Wendy's was good because I would get either 4 junior bacons with fries and then nuggets on the side with buffalo sauce, or I would get the spicy chicken sandwich with cheese combo, which I would upgrade to a large fry there, add some nuggets on the side for that too, a side of Powerade, because I thought that was healthy. The blue Powerade, I was like, I'll do this instead of Coke, because I'm going to be like athletic and healthy. Now, back in the day, I was 18, 19 years old. Could I get away with it? Yeah. I had 6-pack abs. I was like, I could eat whatever I want. This is amazing. But that was just because I had a ridiculously high ability to convert anything to energy at the time. That's just not the way life really works after 18 years old. There's not a lot of 18-year-olds in the building. If you are, get ready. You can't do that forever. But it's not just fast food. Restaurant foods too. All restaurant foods. You go to a restaurant, what are they cooking in? Whatever makes it taste best. Typically, canola oil. You almost have to tell them, and here's a hack for you. You tell the waiter, I'm allergic to canola oil. Can you use olive oil or coconut oil instead? Are you allergic to it? Well, it causes an inflammatory response in the body. So who here is not allergic to canola oil? Everybody is allergic to canola oil in some way. And so if you want it to be cooked in a better oil, and so what are the better oils? Well, you get into some good oils now. Coconut oil is really great. Avocado oil we use a lot. Olive oil is really good too. If you use really good olive oil, it can withstand the high heat thing. So I know we've said in the past, don't use olive oil because at that smoke point, it creates trans fats. It turns into a trans fat. If you use high quality, extra virgin, cold press olive oil, that has the components in it, the molecules in it, let's say, that actually can withstand the high heat, and it's still a good oil for you, even to cook with. Ghee and grass-fed butter. We cook with butter quite a bit. And then what to eat. So wild salmon, grass-fed beef. These are the really good ones. Sardines. I'm getting hungry. Just listing these off. These are my foods, guys. This is my list right here. This is what I eat. Egg yolks. I love eggs. Eggs are fantastic for you. Don't let anybody tell you they're not. Eggs are phenomenal. The research on eggs just keeps getting better and better and better, especially with the yolks intact. You want to eat the yolks. The yolks have all the vitamins and minerals and nutrients and the good, healthy omega-3 fats. Ideal is not scrambled, but where the yolks are a little bit runny so that they don't denature the proteins that are in them. So if you want the highest nutrient density with eggs, you get the ones, or you don't overcook the yolks. That's if you want the highest. We still do scrambled eggs for our kids because that's how they'll eat them, and that's still way better than cereal. Cereal is not a breakfast, by the way. Cereal is not a breakfast. In fact, where did cereal as breakfast start? It was Kellogg's in Battle Creek had this campaign that came out, and they talk about how breakfast is the most important part of the day, and so that was their campaign that they kind of started, and they talked about cereal being the healthy breakfast. But it's actually not a breakfast. It's like a dessert once it's in your body. Walnuts, chia seeds. Chia seeds, funny thing about chia, they are known as the warrior's snack. Because like way back in the day, I don't have my facts, but it's some ancient warriors would carry a sack full of chia seeds because they knew the tiny little, like a chia pet. If you haven't eaten them, maybe you can link back to like these commercials of chia pets. That's not in the notes. I'm just looking, I said chia seeds, and people are like, what are chia seeds? But if you add them to your stuff, it adds fat, good healthy fats, and it adds a ton of energy to what you're eating. And they would carry around this sack and just pop chia seeds to keep their energy going because they're so packed with omega-3 high energy. Flax seeds are great. Coconut itself, avocados, fantastic. Absolutely great. Clean, consistent energy. So we did proteins. We did fats. Now what do we got to do? Carbs. Are they all bad? No. So there's good carbs and bad carbs also. So if you want to promote a healthy metabolism, and if you're looking to fix a broken metabolism, you really need to reduce or completely eliminate the bad carbs. It just won't work. You won't get over the edge without stopping your consumption of these bad carbs. That's the breads, the donuts, the muffins in the morning, the bagels, like, oh, well, I'll just have this. It's just a little bit. But you got to remember, your body's just going to use that for energy, and then you're going to crave carbs later. And then even if you add fat to that situation, you are not retraining your metabolism unless you get rid of the bad carbs. And people they're frustrated. I talk to people, they're frustrated with their weight because they're eating healthy, and they are eating healthier, but they're constantly bombarding their bodies still with a little bit of bad carbs. So their metabolism can't get off the ground. It's like a plane that just can't quite get off the ground. No change is actually made. They get frustrated and they quit a couple months in because they said, I actually weigh more now. Well, of course you do. You've been hammering fats and proteins on top of the carbs that you always ate. So breads, chips, bagels, muffins, breakfast foods, cereals, all of that really needs to go. Now, what are the good carbs? Vegetables. Those are great. Vitamins, minerals, fiber, antioxidants. It's going to help your metabolism. Fruits. I'm a big fan of fruit. I think God gave us fruits. There's a lot of good research on fruits. I don't think that's something you need to really stay away from. Now, if you're turning over your metabolism, you don't need to be pounding a ton of high glycemic fruits, right? But what are the low glycemic ones? Anything that ends in berry. Let me make it simple for you. Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, blackberries. Fantastic. The best out of those is what? Blueberries. That's what it's best of those is blueberries for your metabolism. So you can eat a ton of blueberries, and it's great. Ancient grains, nuts and seeds, beans, legumes, quality dairy, if you can handle that. So the good carbs are good for you. Now there's, within vegetables, you have non-starchy vegetables, which are going to be better for you than the starchy vegetables. So starchy, your potatoes and things like that. Non-starchy, the example up here is cauliflower, but like greens and things like that. You can load up on those because those are going to give you the fiber, the antioxidants, vitamins or minerals, AKA nutrient density. Everyone write down nutrient density. That is the key when it comes to carbs. Starchy vegetables, the problem with these is that to get the same amount of nutrients, you have to eat way more calories of the carbs. So don't fill your plate with those if you're looking to fix a broken metabolism, or you'll have a ton of carbs for energy. And your body's going to recognize all that energy from carbs, and it's going to leave what on your body? Fat. Why does it leave the fat on your body? Because it doesn't need it, because you gave it so much energy from carbs. Remember, sugar, carbs, fat. We got to get these out of the way so your body can tap into the fat reserves. Fat reserves. That's where the reserves are. An average adult has 100,000 calories on their body in their fat. 100,000 calories of energy on your body in fat. Some of you have 500,000 calories or 1,000,000 calories of energy on you, ready to be used. We just got to tap into it. So train your body to tap into it. Here's a hack that'll help you. Apple cider vinegar. So I help patients with blood sugar issues, even digestive issues. Before you eat a meal, take about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and some water. So you just kind of, just put a little capful, or a tablespoon, I should say, into your water. And the acetic acid in the vinegar will do two things. Number one, glucose will be released in the body more slowly. And then number two, our muscles will uptake it more quickly. So overall, you get less of a glucose spike. So we mentioned the big spike in blood sugar, and then that causes the insulin issue. And then that comes back a couple hours later and says, feed me more carbs, feed me more sugar. This slows that down. And so it helps you not get into that crazy up and down crash cycle. What's even better is that researchers found it not only reduces blood sugar and insulin in the blood, but it tells our DNA to reprogram a bit. So our mitochondria, which is the energy centers in our cells, they're reprogrammed to burn fat. That's what the acetic acid, that's what the apple cider vinegar does, especially when you take it before you eat. A lot of studies done. There's groups of 30 to several hundred participants in these studies. Half the group were asked to drink 1 or 2 tablespoons in their water before meals for 3 months. The other half were given placebo. And both groups did the same diets and exercise. They found the people who were drinking the vinegar lost 2 to 4 pounds with everything else being the same. They lost 2 to 4 pounds reduced their visceral fat, which is the fat that's around their organs, which is not good. You don't want a lot of visceral fat. And their waist and hip measurements went down, and their triglyceride levels went down. And there's studies done that said you can cut your blood glucose spike by 30% and your insulin by 20% when doing this. So this is a hack that is so easy. It's cheap. It's simple. I like to put lemon in mine too. This is how I start my day, and this is how I'll have this either before dinner or late at night also. Just a little bit of apple cider vinegar, water, and lemon. And I don't do like the real lemon, like liquid, like just have a real lemon and squeeze it. You're just getting it straight from the lemon. So I like that a lot better. This brings us to the advanced plan. You're like, okay, what should we do? How should I eat? What is this? How do I do it? How do I fix my broken metabolism? Just tell me what to do. The advanced plan has everything in it to do that. Well, how do I get into that whole ketosis thing you talked about? Advanced plan. This will put you into that short-term ketogenic energy converting state, ketogenic energy converting state, which will then allow you to become fat adapted so that you can be metabolically flexible, and then you can eventually keep the weight down without crash diets. So the advanced plan is not a diet. Is the advanced plan a diet? No, it is not a diet. It is there's a lifestyle for eating here, and the advanced plan is what we use to put us back into fat adaptation. So I will use the advanced plan when I know I've become too much carb adapted. When I notice that I need carbs in order to have energy, this is no good. This is heading down a bad metabolic path. I need to do advanced plan and recreate that fat adapted state, and then I can go back to my maintenance plan for eating. And ideally, you don't have to be doing this over and over. So you use this for weight loss, disease reversal, detoxification. What this will end up doing, it'll reduce your inflammation. It will give you healthier hormone function. You'll notice, after the first week or so, because you've got to change your energy stores. But after the first week or so, when you might feel hungry. Obviously, you might have a headache or two. Maybe you'll have an issue sleeping one of the nights or two. We don't typically see that, but it's just enough of that where after you get through that first week or so, you're gonna start feeling better. You're start feeling clearer and everything. So the number one thing is you're eating protein, slow burning energy, and you're making protein a priority. You're eating a protein-forward diet. Protein-forward diet. Fill up on protein first. You're eating healthy fats. But remember, do not increase fat intake without the decrease in bad carbs. Without the decrease in the bad carbs. Or else, you're just adding fat calories. You're not, because your body won't tap into the fat. It'll stay on carbs. And number 3, reduce the bad carbs. So with your focus on fat and protein, focus on non-starchy vegetables as your carbs. And then about a handful of berries is what you can have, I'd say. And if you do that, you are going to notice a metabolic difference, and you're going to start fixing this broken metabolism where you don't have to starve yourself, you don't have to live on keto, you're not doing 6 hours of exercise every single day. In fact, if you did 6 hours of exercise every day and you still ate the same, what's going to happen? Nothing. Because think about it. How are you going to burn off the fat? What are you burning if you exercise 6 hours every day and you keep your current diet? You're still just using sugar for those exercises. You might build some muscle. You might feel a little bit better. You might lose a little bit of weight just because of the calorie thermodynamics of burning more calories if you do 6 hours of exercise. But you're not actually creating a better metabolism. It has to be done through foods. How about diabetics? Diabetes is caused by food. Think about that. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, is caused by food. So what can it be cured by? Food. So this is where advanced plan, you use it to get into that state. So favorite foods, avocados are going to rev up the metabolism. Apple cider vinegar we talked about. Lemons and limes really charges up your energy levels. It's an alkalizing effect. It's good for your liver detox. Bone broth. There's a study showing that glycine and cysteine improved fat burning and insulin sensitivity. So another reason why doing the Pure Path bone broth protein, it's going to help you with fat burning as well. And then grass-fed beef. So eating grass-fed beef, ideally grass-fed and grass-finished beef is what you want to look for. CLA, which is conjugated linoleic acid, it enters the muscle and connective tissues, and where then it can be burned for fat. So CLA is the fat that's in your grass-fed beef and your grass-fed butter too. That actually helps your body burn fat. It tells your brain to burn fat for energy. And you can do all these little things and all these little hacks. You combine them with advanced plan. It works. Like I said, we've been doing this 9 years. We've been doing this seminar here. We've seen people, when they really step into it, and when they decide, I'm fixing my broken metabolism, it's going to suck for a couple weeks, but then it's going to be worth it, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to follow through with the challenge, and then I'm going to actually do this thing. It's going to change my life. They are the ones, years and years later. I'm looking out even at people right now that did this years ago, and they're still doing great, and they're still doing great. And they're better energy, stabilized weight, and they're metabolically flexible. They can actually eat carbs, and they're okay because their body's fat adapted. Here was a study done from a Max Living office in Georgia talking about reversing type 2 diabetes with the Advance plan. And it's this, this program, which I don't like that it's, people say, oh, I'm doing your program. Oh, I'm doing the program. I'm doing the Max Living program. It's not a program. There's no program here. I just want the pain to be gone or just to lose weight. The program thing is called getting healthy. The program is releasing the potential that's already within you so that you can live an amazing, healthy life. And you have that within you. So again, we talked about this one. Protein powder has thermogenic effect and everything. The Metabolism bundle. And Cassie, if you want to come up here. So the Metabolism bundle is, we're putting this on a big sale. It's, I think, 20% off. That's the biggest sale that we ever do. So if you want to get the greens that we talked about and the protein to get started, we have those as a bundle on sale. I use both of these almost every day, and I love it. I always feel so good that I'm getting my vegetable intake, even if I don't end up eating a lot of vegetables that day. I'm not the type to just sit down and eat a bag full of romaine or kale or something like that. I mean, maybe some of you are into that. I'm really not, so the greens really fit my life well. And then obviously the protein, it helps you go protein forward with your diet and for your metabolism. Do you want to add anything to that?
I just want to say that I love that this is our bundle for this makeover, just because this is a lifestyle change and it all starts with nutrition. So this is how you just bombard your body with nutrition. And as we've heard, we have to cut sugar out. So I actually use this for dessert a lot. So if I'm craving something sweet after dinner, I'll throw it in yogurt like Dr. Mark was saying. Also, if I am making like a recipe, family recipe, instead of using sugar or the sweetener, I'll use this instead, and it makes it extra delicious. So super excited for that. And I get to hang out with you guys for the next few minutes, and I'm very excited to do that. If you do want to take advantage of this bundle in your packets, the very back page is going to be your product order form. So you can take a look to see the savings. And we supported local, so we do see that it is on the back of a challenge page. Kim does have extra order forms that you can keep there. So take a look at that, fill it out, and Kim will help you get connected with that. But who here takes supplements? Raise your hand. Yes, a lot of us, which is awesome. How did you decide what supplements to take? A lot of times it'll be reading the new fads or articles that these doctors are putting out. It's really funny. I can tell when a new fad comes out. I'll have like 10 patients come in during shift and be like, have you heard of this curcumin? Like, what does it do? I want it, which is great. I love it. Or I'll have people get testing done from naturopaths. We'll do a hormone panel, something like that. That will show us what hormones or biomarkers are broken, which is great. But when you take supplements for that, you're still just treating those symptoms. We're not getting to the underlying cause. And that's what I'm up here to talk about is our max metabolics. So our tagline is, we don't guess, we test. I like to compare it to driving down the road. Let's say we all decided to go on a road trip and we had to get on the highway. Knowing your blind spots makes it so much easier to get on the highway. And that's exactly what our metabolics testing is gonna do for you. It's gonna show us the blind spots in your body to figure out exactly what is broken, how do we supplement those broken biomarkers to help heal the body? Because when we know our blind spots in our body, it's so much easier to heal those. So this is what the metabolics testing looks like. So it is a blood and urine test that's going to look at nutrient deficiencies and toxicity in the body. So it looks at all those categories. So it's going to tell us oxidative stress, which think prematuring aging at a cellular level. So if I were to cut an apple in half, it turns brown, it's starting to rot. That's what happens when we have too much oxidative stress in the body. It's also gonna show us how well our body is breaking down nutrients, and it breaks down each category, so fats, carbs, and protein, and shows us how efficiently we're using those. It's gonna show us omega imbalances, so all that inflammation. We know inflammation is the root cause of a lot of disease. So the cool thing with this omega imbalance, we just got to hear a ton about omegas, is that it's gonna show us your balance of your 3s, 6s, 7s, and 9s. So it is going to show us exactly how each omega is measured in the body. It's also gonna tell us cellular energy. So we're talking about metabolism. We wanna know what our cellular energy looks like. So it looks at all that. And a lot of things that it helps people heal with is weight loss resistance, cardiac dysfunction, energy levels, sleep, irritable bowel syndrome. It does look at dysbiosis and any GI imbalances in the body as well. So that big picture of what it looks like for the testing. Now with this, I do have some kits here today. So if you're like, I want to jump in and figure out what is going on, come see us at the blue table with the blue balloons. You'll also notice that it is where our challenge signups are. Just because I cannot out-supplement a bad lifestyle, we have to do the lifestyle piece as well. So we meet and work through everything on the lifestyle piece as well as the supplements. You can go to the next slide. So I obviously want to heal the imbalances in your body. I care about that piece. But what's more important is giving you your life back and like how it impacts you. So there's a couple testimonials up here of patients that have gone through the Metabolics program and what they've noticed. So we have Brianna up here, who she actually started in November of 2021, and she had been struggling with multiple migraines several times a month. And she'd been taking supplements regularly and getting adjusted regularly, but she was still struggling with the migraines. There was something broken in her body that we had to heal. So we started her on the program, and her migraines decreased dramatically in just 1 month. So she went from November to December and cut her headache days in half, just implementing this. So it's so life-changing. We have another patient up here, Paula, who suffered from chronic fatigue, sciatic pain, chronic inflammation, swollen ankles, joint pain and aches, low energy and headaches, chronic sinus and bronchitis issues. And she was taking way too many supplements because she was trying to heal broken imbalances within the body. So she obviously had to start with getting her adjustments. So that's where you're always going to start. The brain and body have to talk before we can address these other broken biomarkers within the body. But she is off all of her medications already except for one, which is a sleep one. She's working on that. She's lost 24 pounds and 22 inches. Her degree of obesity went from 38.7% in June to 22.3% by the end of December. Her BMI went from 30.5 to 26.9, and her metabolic age went from 47 years old to 43 years old, and her actual age is 58. So it's life-changing what happens. And I actually do have my mom here as well. She's back there with me, and she's gone through the program. So anything I would ever recommend for you guys, I do with my own family. So she gets to share her testimonial, and you can chat with her too and just hear how life-changing it was for her as well. All right, next slide. So what does it look like? So we work with Genova Labs. So you could go to Genova Labs and grab that test. And if you wanted to do it with Genova Labs, it's a $2,100 test. Now the cool thing of being part of Max Living and the power of our network is that for Max Living patients, we actually get to bring the price down to $749 for you. Since you are taking the time and committing to your health today, we actually are doing a special for $699 today. So if you wanted to jump in, get started on that health journey, come see me back there. I only have 10 kits. I only enroll so many people at a time just because it is a lengthy process and it does take me time, and I want to be able to give you the best experience with that. So come see me if you do want to. Now, if you're like, this all sounds really great and interesting, but you're the person that likes to know all the details, that is absolutely fine. And we actually created an event that you can come to, that's a follow-up, that will go in way more depth of the testing, what it looks like, what do the protocols look like, all of that. So everybody has these little pink sheets on the front of their packets. Make sure you fill this out. So you have to put your name and phone number at the bottom, and then at the end of the event, we're gonna have people collecting them, so make sure you drop this off. But if you wanna learn more, you're gonna check off that MTN class on March 9th and put it in there, and then that will get you into that class where you'll get to learn all the details. I'll go into very deep specifics with that. So yeah, so you can come see me if you're ready to jump in today, or if you want more information, make sure you fill this form out and drop it in the box, and we'll get you connected to the class. Do you want to talk about work? Perfect. So, awesome. Yes, so we also have our Facebook group. So if you sign up for the 30-day challenge or you're ready to make some lifestyle changes, we want to equip you with the resources that you need. So recipes that we use, different brands that we like, workouts that we're doing, the books we're reading, that is all in our Facebook group. So get out your phones. If you're not part of it, scan that QR code and ask to join today. We'll get you in there today. This is also a great place for you to be in a community together. It's so much easier doing this when you have each other to lean on and ask questions, support, share milestones. That's exactly what this group is for. So you want to make sure that you are plugged into that. If you haven't gotten into it, scan it right now. We'll get you in it today. Perfect.
Send them to break. So with this group here, it's been sort of just a community group. What's changing going forward with this is that all of our doctors, we got together and we said, we have these individual conversations with patients all the time. And after that conversation, we leave there saying, man, I just wish I could have told that to everybody. I wish we could have gotten that out to everybody. So something that our doctors actually, we talked about, some of them approached me about it. They said, we need to get more content out there so that we can kind of blow up these conversations that we're having that are so inspiring and informing and everything, and take the time to be able to get that out to you in between your adjustments. Because we know you come in for your adjustment, there's not a 30-minute consult involved with that. We're focused on getting the adjustment done. And so the idea here is, if you get on this group here, and this is a private group, this is patients only. I know some of you in the crowd here, you're not currently a patient. We'll show you how to get involved in the office at the end of this, but if you're here at the event, you can join the group. But this is a private, members only, patient only group here. So we're going to be putting exclusive content on there, workshops, recaps of this event here. We're going to break down some of the principles that we talked about into more finer detail, because I can't do a 7-hour workshop because I can't talk for that long. But I would need 7 hours to really cover all of the things here. So we're going to be putting more of that info on the motivation group on Facebook. So just make sure you join that and be a part of that. You can ask questions. We've got 5 doctors on there ready to answer your questions too. So it's a forum for your 5 essentials questions that everybody gets to learn from. And then we find is the people that go through the challenge, or the people that take on new this new lifestyle, or trying to fix a broken metabolism, the only ones that we've seen really succeed were engaged with this group. The only ones that we've seen really take it to the next level were connected to the rest of the community, because they were inspired and they were able to ask questions and share their struggles and successes. And so what we do is we're going to put the admins of the group are going to put posts on there, and then anybody in the group can comment on those and create conversation within the comments there. We're going to go off into a break here, about 15 to 20 minute break. I want you guys to just be aware of the vendors that we have. We've got amazing, amazing vendors on this side, from the Regans with their candles. We've got Courtney over here, and the Endresses and Crunchy, and then Coachman Training Systems. That's the gym that I go to. They're phenomenal. They're great instruction and everything. You want to make sure you hit them over there. And then we have products in the corner over here. We did bring a limited supply of products that are all on sale. Obviously, you can do it with your order form as well. But we have the proteins and greens bundles ready to roll for you guys to get going. If I could just answer just one or two questions here. Someone asked, I've got about 50 questions here, so I'm not going to be able to answer all of them. But someone asked, what about toxins? I've heard fats store toxins. Is that true that you might feel worse when working out and that losing fat will release these toxins back into your body? So what's interesting is you won't be able to lose the fat necessarily if you're that toxic. And so you'll lose some fat, but if there's fat that's holding on to toxins, that's why we, and we haven't talked about this yet today, but the detox system helps you actually pull toxins out of your cells. And it's a two-part system where there's another component to it that binds them and sends them to your elimination systems, so then you can break through and lose weight. So detox system would be something if you suspect toxicity is what's holding on to your weight. But 85% of the time, I'll say, and that's just a number I came up with, when people go with it, they do the advanced plan and they go for it, they do break through and lose the weight. And will you feel maybe a little bit junky if you're losing, if you're burning up fat and using fat that has toxins in it? So what? So you feel junky. You are breaking through a messed up metabolism that is jammed. And so if you're unjamming something, is it always going to feel good? No, if you unjam something, things that might be a little bit painful for a time. What do you use for liquid for the Pure Path protein? I use water. Just like cold water. And I actually put salt in it too. We'll talk about salt in the second half. But I put salt in there. And then apple cider vinegar, I hate it. Is there an alternative? Just don't drink it if you hate it. You don't have to. It's just, it helps. Okay. Is intermittent fasting a good plan for resetting your metabolism? Yes. Intermittent fasting combined with the ketogenic advanced plan is fantastic. Now, not everybody should intermittent fast. And if you are carb adapted, intermittent fasting doesn't work. It's not good, because then you're going to just muscle through that morning, and then 11 a.m. comes up. Intermittent fasting is basically, just to make it really simple, you're not eating for a longer period of time. So from dinner to like the next day lunch, you're just not eating, and you're allowing your body to run on better fuel and to burn fat for energy. But if you're not fat adapted, then what are you burning? Nothing. So how are you feeling? Like absolute. So that is what you're going to feel if you're not fat adapted yet. So if you're carb adapted and you're intermittent fasting, you're just going to crave sandwiches and chips and desserts by the time that 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. rolls around when you're ready to eat. So intermittent fasting, yes, but that's only if you're doing fat adapted keto type eating. So I do recommend it, and I like it myself, but until you're fat adapted, it's going to be really hard to do. Can you heat the Pure Path protein? This will be the last one I handle. Coffee, yeah, you can put it in something hot. We have the Max Collagen also. I like that putting in coffee. So that has collagen proteins in it. I know we didn't talk about the collagen yet, but the Pure Path protein, it's from bone broth, and so it does have those collagen aspects to it. It's just flavored chocolate or vanilla. And yeah, you can put it in something hot. You might have to like not stir. You might have to like whip it with a, what do you call those? Hand blenders? It's just a hand blender. Just couldn't think of the word. And so that'll help to kind of disperse it. I would try it. Sometimes it doesn't taste quite right for people. But again, I just use mine in water, and I just shake it up in water. So that's what I like to do. One more. Is it possible to build muscle in your mid-60s? There was a study that came out that showed people in their mid-90s were building muscle, increasing their muscle fibers, increasing their strength by doing moderate strength training. 95 years old. So can you in your mid-60s? Absolutely. Are you going to look like you did when you were 20? Who cares who cares what you look like? You want to be functioning great, not just looking great. Looks are deceiving. Okay, we're going to head you off to break. We'll see you in 20 minutes. Make sure you hit the vendors too.